Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Travis and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about why I decided to stop using filter socks after about 9 to 10 years in the hobby. Now, pretty sure I started my first reef tank in the middle of 2013, but it could have been 14. Either way, I have been using filter socks in every single setup up to this point, and really up to about a month and a half ago when I decided to pull them off completely from the 300. And in this video we're going to talk about why, some of the pros and cons, and really the main reasons and benefits to me stopping. Now, this is just going to be my personal opinion, my own experience. Feel free to do what you want with it. I'm just kind of sharing it with you guys. So, with that said, as you guys can tell, my voice is pretty awful. It could go out at any point in this video, and I do apologize, just kind of under the weather. So, with that said, let's go ahead and look at the sump here. This is the Geo sump. It has a section here that holds four 4-inch filter socks, and you can see there's some strainers there, some spacers. We'll talk about that here in a second. But either way, I've been using 4 filter socks, changed out twice a week, every week for the last, what, 5-6 years that this setup's been up? Something like that? 5 years, 6 years? I don't know. It's been a while. And yeah, that's fine and dandy, but I do have enough filter socks that can last me about a month and a half of doing that, and then I have to clean them. Now, I do like to keep my filter socks in these 5-gallon buckets here with lids on them, of course, to keep the smell down, and I clean them once a month, once every other month, something like that. So, yeah, I don't feel like cleaning filter socks anymore. That's pretty much the main reason why I stopped. Now, there are some benefits to the reef tank we'll talk about, but I just don't feel like cleaning filter socks. The time it takes, how awful they smell. Granted, I lost taste and smell pretty significantly back in 2020 when I got the C. It still hasn't come back, but I'll tell you, you couldn't smell anything, and you'd still smell filter socks. They're awful. So I didn't really feel like cleaning them anymore. They use a ton of electricity, a ton of cycles to get them completely clean to where I feel comfortable to put them back in here, and I just didn't want to do that anymore. So a waste of electricity, a waste of time, smells awful, fills the whole house up. It's brutal. So that's the main reason. I don't feel like cleaning them anymore, period. Now, my second reason is I wasn't very consistent with changing them out. Yes, usually twice a week, ideally, but there has been times I'd go a week or 2 weeks just because I have other things going on. Life is pretty busy, as you guys know. And, of course, the whole purpose of a filter sock is to collect food, waste products, organics, all sorts of stuff, and collect them so then they can be removed before they have a chance to break down, contributing to nitrates and phosphates and fluctuations in that. And if you're not consistent when it comes to changing these, well, you're defeating the purpose of even keeping them in the first place, right? So me not being consistent all the time led to fluctuations in nitrates and phosphates and not having consistent numbers. I didn't like that. So again, that was another reason why I stopped using them. Now, the third reason, or maybe even the fourth reason at this point, my skimmer, which is a Niles Quantum 300, beautiful skimmer, works really, really well. And one thing I noticed is when I had filter socks in there, and they were fresh 2-3 days in, the skimmer was just not producing a lot of foam. It wasn't really collecting a lot of organics. Granted, the filter socks were collecting everything. That's fine. It wouldn't start really working until they started overflowing, and then I really felt like I was getting, my bang for my buck when it came to the skimmer. Like, the skimmer actually produced consistent skimmate. It filled up the collection container, which is the Avast Marine 5-gallon collection container, and it filled it up consistently, and the foam was consistent and was really frothy. It was good. It was good production of skimmate. And again, I didn't notice that until the filter socks started overflowing, which makes sense, right? The organics are bypassing the filter socks, yada yada yada. They're getting picked up by the skimmer. The skimmer finally gets to do its job. So I was kind of thinking to myself, what's the point of even having a skimmer if I'm not even utilizing it the way I should? I'm not really getting the benefit from it, other than, of course, the benefit in pH and aeration, all sorts of stuff, and a little bit of organics that it does remove. What's the point of having that with the filter socks? Like, it's not working the way it should. So since removing the filter socks, I'm having more consistent skimmate. My nitrates and phosphates are more predictable, more consistent. I'm actually able to feed even more to the fish because I'm not worried about that food breaking down inside the sock, contributing to excess nutrients. It just either gets picked up by the skimmer or it gets sent back through the system again through the return pump. So I'm able to feed the fish a heck of a lot more food, which is nice. My nutrients are more stable and consistent. All good things, right? So those are the benefits of removing it thus far. Now, the only downside really, here goes my voice, the only downside really was the noise. Okay, the noise of getting rid of it. And now being down here in the fish room with the printers and the tanks and stuff, it's not a huge deal, but it was definitely noticeable when I was down here. So I went ahead and plus I didn't want to lose fish. Like if a fish got through the overflow, I didn't want it to make its way to the return section. I wanted to at least catch it here. So because I have some chromis that like to make their way into the return, they just do. So I made these silencers, or these spacers. They're not silencers. Well, they're technically silencers, but not filter sock silencers. Either way, I made these spacers that actually fit directly into the slot there, and they do catch larger particles of food. As you can see, fish, they won't make it down there. If my wrasse decides to make its way through, they won't make it to the return pump and get sucked in and destroyed. They'll get caught up on here, and at least hopefully be able to catch them before they dry out, right? But yeah, so these silencers work really well with cutting down on the sound. Now, one thing to keep in mind is one of the really popular things on my website is the filter sock silencers, and I want to be clear that these are not the same thing. These are large enough to fit in the slot where the filter sock was. The filter sock silencers are different because they're smaller and they're meant to go inside the filter sock. So just keep that in mind. Don't want to get those confused if you are considering ordering either one. Now, another thing that I also created was the silencer that actually is a complete solid one. So if I do decide to use filter socks temporarily, maybe during a water change or something, and I want to catch excess nutrient or excess particles, I can block off maybe 2 of these chambers or those filter sock holes and funnel everything into 2 filter socks instead of the 4, right? So maybe that, maybe that'll be something I'll use in the future. Now, the only other thing that I had to do was relocate my Trident inlet line. As you can see, I moved it back here just because it was really close over here before. I know it's difficult to see, and there's a lot of micro bubbles now that the filter socks aren't there, so I think I was picking up micro bubbles in my Trident. It really wasn't changing the reading too much that I noticed, but didn't want to risk it, so I just relocated that. Outside of all of that, that's it. There's no other negatives. That's basically the main reasons why I decided to stop using them, because the only negative is what? A little bit of extra sound, and my Trident maybe pulling in some micro bubbles. Everything else is a positive, and I know my voice just sounded awful there. So everything else is a positive. Again, the biggest thing here is that I get to feed my fish more. I mean, I got a lot of fish. You guys will see them here in a little bit. They're just big, fat fish, and they're super thick. And one's eating its own poop right now. Don't do that. That's gross. Anyways, I'll do another video. You guys will be able to see all these guys close up, but we'll feed them. I'm feeding a ton of food, and the fact that I can do that and make them happier really cuts down on the aggression, because there's a ton of tangs in there. So cutting down on the aggression is always really nice, and feeding more without having to worry about the excess nutrients. So between not having to clean them, making my fish happier, and the nutrients being stable, I mean, I have no intentions of ever going back to use filter socks. Now, I do get questions about the filter roller. Do I want to use it? No, I don't. No. It's just another moving part that could potentially break. I don't really have the ability to set it up on here without replumbing things. It's a pretty tight fit in here. We've done a lot of modifications over the years and added things and tanks and stuff, and I don't have wiggle room to really be messing around down here. And honestly, I don't really want to have the expense of buying the mat and dealing with all that stuff either. So really like what I got going on so far. I'm going to keep doing it. Now, one thing that I have started doing on my bi-weekly water change, I will come in and just suck up all the detritus at the bottom. I'll go into each chamber with a shop vac, a hose attachment. I'll come through and suck all that stuff out. So any kind of fish poop or waste or detritus that doesn't get picked up by the skimmer that settles, I'll just pull that stuff out every other week. Again, it's not a huge deal, and there's barely anything being pulled out. So with that said, my voice is dead, so I'm going to end this video now. If you use filter socks, cool, that's awesome. Nothing wrong with it, but it just doesn't fit my lifestyle and what I'm doing at the moment, so I'm pretty happy with what I got going on. Now, it could change in the future. We'll see how things go. We're always evolving, always changing, and, we'll see what happens. So with that said, guys, I'm going to let you go, and I'll see you later. All right, peace.